Jeep is known for its rugged and versatile off-road vehicles. However, 2008 models and up, the stock radios definitely have a bit of an issue with the AMFM chip that's inside the radio. So in this video, we're going to cover just diagnosing the problem and how to go about fixing your radio. Different things happen with different people. A lot of times the volume doesn't work, different buttons don't work, but overall there's a problem with your radio. This fix has been found by many to work, and that's what I'm going to cover in the video after this jump. So we're in a Jeep Compass, standard Jeep stock radio. We've taken the front plate off here. We used a pry removal tool just so we don't do any damage. And what you can see here is there is a cord that's attached, so definitely be careful when taking this out. There's a little release piece that you can unplug that easily from the dash. And then what I used here is just a 3D printed pry removal tool, and I will link that in the description below as well. So what we have here is the stock standard Jeep radio. However, this has Sirius XM as well. And there's a few things when you disconnect. Definitely recommend a flathead screwdriver to do so. On the note of car trim removal, Lowe's has a set you can buy for like 17 bucks. It's super expensive and overpriced in my opinion. So I 3D modeled a little tool for you guys. You can 3D print it on your 3D printer. Works really well. Worked for me in this case with the Jeep. So if you would like this, it's on my Thingiverse. I will share a link in the description below for this use of removing trim to get to the radio. So once your radio is taken out of the car, everything's taken apart, I just want to showcase where the chip is inside of the radio, and it's near the antennas. So there's the AM/FM chip in question that has the bad solder and can get dirty. Okay, so here we have our Jeep AM/FM radio. Everything's been disconnected in the back. And again, if you have a flathead screwdriver, you can just press in on the little nubs for each thing and it'll disconnect it. So they're pretty easy to disconnect, and same with the antenna stuff, that all disconnects like that. And so with this AM/FM stereo, you've got it out of the car now. This front plate right here just pops off, so we can do that with our hands. So just kind of pull on each side, left and right and middle, get it all disconnected, and it's going to come off. And so you can see where this plugs in to the front plate. So that's plugged in there, and there's nothing that needs to be done with this front plate, so we can set that to the side for now. The next thing we're going to need is a Torx screwdriver, and a small one at that. So I actually use a Cobalt. This is just a small screwdriver, has different ends, different bits, Phillips, flathead, Torx and others, star bits. So you can see that here, the 3 different bits they have. But I did just kind of test each one. I'm using a T9 here, it looks like, and the T9 seemed to work pretty good. So basically the first thing you want to do is start removing screws, and it's just these 2 in the front that you want to remove, and that's going to get the CD player out of there. So make sure you don't lose your screws, so definitely get a cup or something like that just to put your screws in so you don't lose them. So altogether there's 4 screws, so the 2 in the front, that's going to get the CD player out. But next we're going to have to take off this top part. And how this top part is in there is it's basically just slid over these nubs on the side. So we're just going to pull this out. We're going to get a little flathead screwdriver, get some leverage, and kind of pull this out on each side. So before we take this metal top off, there are 2 Torx screws you have to take out. I have a T15 here that I'm going to use to remove them. Very cool. And now that those are off, now we can kind of pull up and twist. Start taking this top off. and you'll see that you want to take it out from the back because these little tabs in the front. So you're going to pull up and then pull it out. And that'll fall right out. And so you can see where that plugs in the front. Yeah, you don't need this top. You're going to set that to the side as well. And the next part, you want to take this CD player out. So I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. And then we're going to use that same mini torque screwdriver to take out 2 screws with the CD player. And then the CD player can come out, and underneath the CD player there should be a ribbon cable, so do be careful there. And you can see there's a little tab you can press down on, and you can press down and pull up on that. Alright, and the CD player you can set off to the side too. So if we're looking at this, find where your antenna comes in, because the chip in question is going to be near that antenna, and so that's the chip, the AMFM chip. This is the chip in question that is usually bad for some reason. So I'll zoom in there once again so you can see that. And this is the chip where it's hard to get on the camera, but there's a bad soldering joint. That's what most folks say. There could be just dirt buildup in there along with bad soldering joints. So there's a few things that people want you to do. They want you to get a heat gun, and while using a flathead screwdriver, you could pass over the chip with the heat gun, kind of melt that solder, and then press down on the chip with something like a flathead screwdriver, and then let it cool, and then hopefully it's fixed. That works for most people. So another thing folks do is they'll just get a Q-tip, put some isopropyl alcohol in that Q-tip, and then just clean the chip. Just clean all 4 sides of the chip, and that also helps. What worked for me is I did both. So I actually used a heat gun I bought at Harbor Freight. It was really cheap. It was around $10 or something, I want to say at the time. It's just a Drill Master heat gun with 2 settings. And I just directly heated the chip, of course, while holding it down. I was also wearing heat-resistant gloves just to be safe, so I was holding it down with one hand and then pressing that chip down as I pass like this along the corners of that chip. And I did that for about 60 seconds, and then I stopped just until I noticed that the chip was getting hot. So that was one thing I did, and the other thing again was just use some isopropyl alcohol. You can get this at Walmart. 91% is fine. And just make sure you get plenty on your Q-tip, and then just clean that chip. Clean the chip worked for me. I really think that was the main issue I had. And once I cleaned it, put it back together, the whole radio worked again. Satellite radio, the volume, change of channels, everything worked again. So to put this thing back together, just do everything reverse of what you just did. Alcohol cleaning helped. Then you just slide these tabs in the front, push down, and that's it. You'll hear a click. You'll see it click over the sides like that, and that gets it all back together. And then as for the front of the unit, you'll see where it just plugs in. And so all I do is kind of make sure it's plugged in right. And you'll hear it snap in place. You'll see the tabs are back in. Everything's back together. And then you can test and make sure it works. Hopefully this video was helpful for you. Worked for me, fixed the Jeep radio. There's also a bunch of other great videos on YouTube that kind of cover this same thing. Definitely recommend watching the one by your boy Kai. It's awesome, goes over many of the same details I do here. Again, try the alcohol trick. I think that works great. And hopefully it works for you. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Thanks.